Am I audible? Okay. So good morning, everyone, and thanks for coming here and giving me the opportunity to talk about some of the stuff that we have been doing. Um, I was kind of hoping that a lot of people will focus on use cases, specifically, in the area of AI, ML, and how they are solving different problems. One of the advantages of this kind of event is that when we come to the event and listen to the, different presenters, we kind of get the sense of the market and pulse of the market. And what is the trend that is going on today, specifically in this area? So my intention was to actually not go into the details of different use cases that we all work on day in, day out. Instead, can we just talk about some of the trends that, that is going on, that we all perceive as of now today, and see this kind of change that is happening, that is taking place right now. How are they going to pose new challenges and new changes that will be required in order to address that? Now, since the undercurrent topic definitely is AI and ML, but the whole software basically depends on the data. And depending upon the kinds of data, we try to design and implement our software. So it's very imperative for all of us to see how data is changing over the period of time. And let's say in another 3 to 5 years or maybe 6 years, what are the trends that we are going to see in coming days? So I hope this works like this. Do I need to switch it on? Okay, so I think while they fix, let me get started. So if you try to just see last few decades, 30, 40 years, we started with the kind of there are a lot of data and we wanted to put somewhere in repository and create some report end of the month. Then we started feeling, can we actually get this report faster? So we built, let's say, data warehouse and some query on top of it. Then we started dealing with a lot of data, and the Google came up with the MapReduce algorithm, and we started with MapReduce based processing. And then Storm and Spark and all these guys, they come up with micro or macro batching processing. And they said that instead of getting report in 5 hours, 3 hours, probably you can get report in 30, 20 minutes as well. So this has been predominantly what's going on. Now, let's just analyze how things are today, or maybe a couple of years back, and how it will look, let's say, after 3, 4 years. So you clearly see that the data slowly is moving away from, let's say, static data or offline data to online data, the real-time data. If you see today currently, what is the volume of data that are coming from devices? It is less than 2, 3%, or maybe maximum 5%. And 2 years back, it was less than 1%. So it was only natural to design our software and our tools for this 99% of the data, which was mostly offline-ish. Now, suddenly with IoT and all that, we see that the data predominantly is coming from the devices. In another 5 years, this is based on a lot of research, another 5 years, you will see the 50% of the global data sphere will be actually from devices. Those device data are around half of that data is going to be worth real time. So what does that mean? It means that today, or maybe earlier, we ignored the importance of real-time data. But going forward, we cannot actually afford to ignore the data which is coming so fast from various sources, especially from the devices, and we have to deal with them as quickly as possible. Now, this is a big shift happening. Most of the tools and software, if you see, were designed for totally different kind of a data. Now, if the context is changing and if the ground is shifting, we actually no longer can afford to deal with the same tools and same software to deal with this new kind of a data. So that is very well understood that in another 3 to 4 or maybe 5 years, the data from real-time devices will be on our face, and we needed to handle that. We will have to handle that. Which means that there is a shift that has to happen, the way we deal with software, the architecture design, and also the implementation perspective. The number 2 part, the other fact which is totally directly linked with this fact is that the per capita interaction, because human to human interaction is increasing, human to machine, machine to human, and machine to machine interactions are all increasing. What is the per capita interaction that is happening today? Let's say if it is X, in another same time period, it will be more than 20X. So we'll be dealing with 20X more data individually in real-time manner. And we need to handle that also. So which is again pointing in the same direction. Now the second fact that you see here is that 25% of the data will be worth real time, which means that if data has been happening in real time, by the way, whether we realize or don't realize, data always happens in real time. We are discussing the data is generated in real time. It's only that we have been analyzing data in offline manner. And there was a case for that, and very solid and sufficient case for that. But with this change that is occurring right now, 25% of the data will be worth real-time analysis. Now, how do we tackle that? Today, if you see, there are not many software or the tools available in the market which can actually guarantee to give you accelerated time to market when you adopt them in order to deal with, let's say, real-time data. So that's another interesting fact. I hope it moves to next one. Yeah. Now, so let's see if the database market, especially the NoSQL, because when we talk about data coming in from devices and various other sensors, we are talking about all sorts of data. We are talking about unstructured data. Data could be text, could be binary, could be video, could be audio, anything. So we clearly understood, maybe a decade back or 5 years back, that RDBMS is not going to be sufficient to handle this kind of data in as quickly or easy manner as let's say NoSQL could be. So let's just understand the landscape of the database. There is a hyper growth of NoSQL happening today. And this hyper growth is represented by the fact that while RDBMS is still growing, but it is growing with, let's say, 8% or something around that, the NoSQL is growing at least 4 times the RDBMS. So that's clear validation coming in from the database market, which is trying to align with the trends that is going on in the data side. Now the second fact, if you see, which NoSQL, let's say we try to open the box and try and look into what's happening inside the NoSQL itself. Which NoSQL is increasing the fastest in terms of growth? It is the time series or it is the streaming database. And there are a couple of examples here. The influx data and then many other NoSQL trying to align themselves with the streaming and real-time data. So that has been growing with almost 5 times the other NoSQLs. And if you see the growth of the streaming itself, it's going to be close to anything between 3 to 5 times the way it is happening today. So the database market, it definitely following this trend. We may have realized this or we may not have, but if you see and open the data sheet and try to analyze it from high level, macro level, you will clearly see that there is an alignment. Now, but then what are we talking about? If the database is trying to align themselves with the trends in the data, certainly the next question would be, what are the gaps today in the market? And what problem we are trying to solve? The number one gap, according to us, is that there is, if you take a step back, we clearly need a couple of things here in place when we want to deal with, let's say, streaming data, real-time data. Number one, we need to have these streaming capabilities. So that's very important. We need to stream data into a system, one data points or one event at a time. Second, and then from multiple sources. The second is we need to process and analyze those data again in a continuous manner, not in a macro or micro batch manner. Personally, I find it a little ironical when people talk about micro and macro batches. 10 years ago, the micro batch, 1 second window batch, or a 1 hour window batch used to contain 10,000 data points. now 5-second micro batch will contain more than that data point. So it's not about what is the length of the window that we're talking about. It's about how many data points are fitting in that particular delta T window. So even if it is a micro batch, we are still talking about maybe 10,000, 20,000 events at a time. And that is not going to be sufficient because we want to analyze every single event. So real-time data processing, apart from the streaming data, once we have streamed data into the system, how do we analyze every single event individually? So that's another thing which is important. Number 3, the moment it is about, let's say, real-time data or streaming data, it is also about what is going on. So continuous analysis replaces the batch intelligence or the business intelligence. And slowly and surely, according to us, it is actually moving in that direction. More and more people are asking for continuous reports, continuous data points, continuous action, continuous alerts, and all that. People want to analyze their operations in a continuous manner, and based on certain patterns that they see, they want to take action then and there, instead of taking action after 1 hour or a couple of hours. So they want to analyze the data points continuously, and most importantly, now they want to predict that if I have the capability of streaming the data into a system or tool or platform, and if I am able to analyze every single data point at a time, and if there is a continuous analysis which is enabled, then we should be doing the next step, which is predicting on every single event, again on a continuous manner on the streaming data points. So we are talking about basically convergence of 3 or 4 dimensions. Number 1 is we definitely want a store which is designed for real-time, fast-moving data. So we need a NoSQL which actually doesn't care really about the shape and size and color of the data. Now, if you see, some of you may actually think that there are many NoSQL database, and why are we talking about that NoSQL was designed for, not considering the size and shape of the data. But the irony is, the moment you select a NoSQL, you actually upfront sign up for the structure of the data, which is totally against the design principle of the NoSQL itself. If you select, let's say, Mongo, you're signing up for document data structure. If you're taking Redis, you're signing up for key value. If you take, let's say, Cassandra, you're signing up for column family. If you take, let's say, Vertica, it's a columnar. So what happened? There is no one-shoe-fit-all kind of a scenario in the market. We need all kinds of data. We have all kinds of data. We need all kinds of storage. We need all kinds of treatment. So there is a convergence of real moving away from the upfront structuring of the data is required. So the new NoSQL. Now this NoSQL should also have streaming capabilities. Can I stream data without even bothering about where my data sources are? So that's number 1. Number 2, if the data is getting streamed, then can we process it not as a map-reduce manner where I need to first store and then sort of reduce, but can I process the data when it is still in the wire? And that is the real-time data processing. And that actually will enable the continuous intelligence that we're talking about. Third, can we have the convergence of the AI also there, right where the NoSQL is? Now, today, if you, let's say, you want to do that, typically, as a developer, I would go and select Kafka as a messaging platform. I will take another layer, which is, let's say, Spark layer for microprocessing. Then I will go another one. I will take, let's say, Cassandra for intermediate storage. Then I will take, let's say, Redshift for BI. I will take some visualization tool. I will have Zookeeper to manage all these guys. So the bunch of vertical silos that we are all talking about. If you want to bring in the AI, you need to take another AI vertical, another AI silo. This is very, very complex. This is not going to work when the data volume, especially in this area, is going to be that high. So we need to have a system where all of these guys are natively present in the computing platform itself, which means that NoSQL itself. So the NoSQL will have to grow, move away from requiring to structure data upfront. Number 2, having streaming capabilities inbuilt. Number 3, having the ability to do AI right there within the system itself, so that if a stream is flowing in, I could train my model there, I could deploy those models there, and I can start predicting on every single data event that is going on. And if we are able to achieve this through, let's say, a very nice user interface or through API, simple API, then we are talking about huge acceleration in terms of time to market. We now certainly we'll have to focus on the business that we are trying to solve. Some of the problems the previous speaker was talking about, if you want to solve, let's say, one of those problems, invariably it will take over a year just to put a system in place before you actually start seeing any result out of it. So it's the problem with ML and AI is that 80% time is going into the infrastructure side, the DevOps side. Who will procure me the infrastructure? Who manages all these big files? Who will train the model? Who will deploy that model? Who is versioning these model? Who is doing the A/B testing? No, we are not talking about data science right now. We are just talking about the infrastructure problem. So it's only like 15-20% when we go into dealing with, let's say, use cases. While use cases are extremely important because that's the solution that we want to offer to the customer or the client. But at the same time, it's very important that we have a scalable system in place because the way things are shifting under our feet, it is not going to be easy to just continue even managing what we are doing today with the volume and other things that are going to explode. So here is the, with all this chaos, mess, and confusion, there comes the opportunity. So the opportunity is that we need to have this space that you see, the circle, it was not there, maybe 5 years ago. But since the other angle, other dimensions are coming, fusing together, they are coming very, very closely. They want to get into each other. So this new space is getting created. It's a huge, huge space in terms of the market value, tons of money that we are talking about. And it is also the space where we say that now we have a convergence of multiple things that we need. And then we will have the ability to, let's say, go to the market and try and solve some use cases. Now let's talk about some of the, I just listed out some of the use cases which we try to work on today. We are a 30 people company here sitting here in Bangalore. We have presence, we are creating presence outside India also. Our main focus area is actually to provide this platform which actually can give you access to solving some of these problems in a really easy manner. And we don't want a computer geek to deal with, let's say, ingestion data and training a model. Ideally, I would like my mother to train a model there for streaming data. And this is only possible when the load is being taken by the system which is running behind the scene. So what we call is a BangDB. It is named after Bangalore, of course. This BangDB is the NoSQL that we have talked about today. It converges the streaming part. It converges the AI right within the database itself. It has the processing capability. It has complex event processing, ability to identify patterns. It is scalable. It is a peer-to-peer based model, based on CORD algorithm. You guys might be knowing that. So it actually scales in a very simple manner. And apart from that, there is a dashboard using which you can actually pretty much consume any kind of a data coming in from infrastructure, websites, clickstream, all those kind of data. You can define the pattern that you are interested in. You can train many, many models because it is the platform's responsibility to provision the resources and also allow you to do whatever you want to do. You can run multiple A/B testing if you're not sure about which model works fine, and then pick a model based on what is going right for you. And then you can let it just run for the data sources that you have got. Apart from that, this BangDB is written in a pure C language. And a fleshed out version actually can run within the microprocessors. Now, when we talk about devices and 50% of data coming in from devices, where is the source? Source is at the edge. So the traditional approach of doing the analysis where the edge will send data to cloud or some backend system is not going to work. The edge also has to take some responsibility. So a lot of data points, the direct, simple use cases could be handled at the edge level itself. Edge means where your sensor and devices are. You can put a microprocessor and do a lot of stuff there. So this whole thing that we talked about in a fleshed out version can sit within microprocessor and can actually run for you and give you certain level of analytics much faster than if you send the data. So it's very oxymoronic. You collect the data from device, you send to cloud, and then you ask cloud, what did I send? So instead of that, if you have the edge computing right there, you can do certain things very, very, in a lightweight and nimble manner. So this is from very high level what we are doing. We also have got certain solutions We call it our app store. So like, for example, if you want to do personalization for e-commerce guys, the visitors, in one-on-one manner, in a real-time manner, you can do that. If you want to analyze, let's say, infrastructure, data center, you want to, let's say, do convergence of all the data in a single place so that you can correlate multiple data points, which is today very difficult because different data points are sitting in different tools. For example, firewall sits in firewall tool, router sits in router tool, and blah, blah, blah. Instead of that, if you start pushing those data in a single place, you suddenly have the ability to relate that data. So data center solution is another one. You have another, you can actually deal with, let's say, some of the infrastructure level problem when it comes to hosting your business or solution. Your business or your website is not running on an island. It runs on Linux server or some server. It actually uses some database. It uses some page server, and then it uses some scaling. And so there are tons of things going on there. How do you actually monitor those things in a simple manner? You need to take 5 different tools from 5 different vendors. So there, we actually simplify. We say that this is our app store. If you procure a server, you can procure these. You can just take these monitoring apps also, and you can monitor your business as well from the infrastructure point of view. So we are focusing on some of the use cases that we have written here in this window. Okay, market size, I don't need to go into that. So it's already rankable. So I would definitely love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? And see if I can answer some of your questions. But my motivation was actually to give you some facts which you can ponder over, mull over, and see there is a calibration or recalibration needed from your side. So would love to have some question.
Hi Sachin, so it's a nice talk. So I was just wondering, do you have some resources available online so that we can look into that in more details?
Yeah, absolutely. We have that. If you let me know your ID, I could send some of the other stuff also,
Sure.
which are not necessarily available on the website. Absolutely.
Sure.
Where do you work, Fadman?
Intel.
Hi Sachin.
Hi.
Will you be able to share some use case where you have deployed this already?
Yeah. One of the use cases we worked with one of the biggest service providers. They're international guys, but they are here in India also, Accenture, and the lead scoring part on a real-time basis using our platform for their one of the biggest German car manufacturer. And they saw, we were actually telling them that you will see 70 to 80% jump in actually getting the conversion. They saw more than 2x using this one because the scoring, the number of leads list got reduced, and they were like very quality leads for them too, because for them sales happen at the POS level. This is a many multi-million dollar for people, and we got certain chunk as well. Apart from that, there is I think the previous speaker was talking about NLP, and he wanted to touch upon basically the text analysis, and which is actually in the ontology area. So given a text, can you understand it? Can you extract the knowledge instead of the information? So we did that for Cisco. We were part of Cisco Accelerator program, so we got a chance to work with them. And for their CRM team, when the customer is trying to file some bug or some issue, he's providing some right information, wrong information. And 70 to 80% of the time, it's the configuration problem that they face. And then, because of wrong info, it goes to different teams and latency in resolution. So, but they have got tons of documents sitting there, which is actually describing everything in a very nice manner. But the user is not going through that. So the question was, while he's typing in the problem, can we also, in parallel, extract the knowledge in a graph manner, ontology manner, and based on that, present to the user that this might be the reason, or these are the probable reasons for what the problem that you are facing. That could resolve a lot of their issues. But if, let's say, if it doesn't help them, then it actually uses these ontology to put it in the queue for the right group to tackle. So this is another piece which is running within Cisco. These are two, one of the biggest few biggest use cases that we have deployed on this platform. Apart from that, of course, there is this whole platform is running within data center. And we are doing that, but they need to come out and also talk about it. But this is replacing at least dozens of tools that any data center will use today. Because they have got, as I was saying, you have different tools for different data in a data center itself. Instead of that, if you deploy this one, you suddenly ingest all kinds of data in one place, and you do certain things a lot better, and especially in the security and fraud area. Thank you. Any from this side? I saw a lot of nodding heads, so I'm just asking. Something that you... No? Sorry.
Hi. Can you please also talk a little bit about BangDB and which part of CAP theorem does it really reside?
So, so BangDB, I think you got it. It's based on P2P and all that, so that's where you might be asking this question. So we provide a kind of a knob using there is a config file, and you can set the consistency, partition, and availability part, depending upon which two you want to pick. And this runs in that manner. Once you decide those two factors for a, let's say, cluster, then it continues running in that manner, unless you go and change the config and restart again. So it actually gives you ability to be nimble and flexible in selecting those CAP theorem, which Eric Brewer suggested. But it actually, BangDB falls into multi-model NoSQL area. And with the premise that it will process the data before actually it will allow it to sit on the disk. So this premise helps us, these two design principles, because now we can process data much more faster. And this is pretty much aligned with a new concept, not so new, but new concept called map update instead of map reduce, where you need to necessarily go to hard disk. And so it actually gives you data in a very, very fast manner when you actually ask for some of the data. It can actually trigger some action based on pattern identification a lot faster. So this is from dealing with the data. Apart from that, internally it uses same B plus tree and hash and all that to organize the data. But the data is partitioned and it is truly scalable in a ring using consistent hashing that you already might be knowing, using CORD algorithm. These are some of the details for the BangDB. Okay, so right now we are supporting it through API, but we allow people to query using JSON. We keep data in JSON manner predominantly, unless you ask us not to. So the query comes in a JSON form, pretty much like MongoDB.
Hello, Sachin. It was a great talk. So I just have one question regarding the vehicle side. I mean, nowadays, autonomous vehicles are into the boom. So there is one area where using sensor fusion, there is a real-time data that is required. Do you have any use cases from a vehicle development?
We have a deep learning module there, but so far we haven't actually worked on this. But this is, as you are absolutely right, bang in the middle of what we are trying to do.
Thanks.